Good morning. Let me adjust this, sorry. All right, there we go. Good morning, everybody. I hope that you are all having a great week and that you are having a good day so far. It's kind of cloudy outside, but that's okay. I think my plants needed the rain, so that's nice. So today, really short, we're gonna do a Bakasana crow pose tutorial. And again, I like to preface these tutorials by saying that by no means am I like an expert at these poses or a master or anything like that. Just something that I've worked on for a while and some tips that I kind of picked up along the way that I thought were helpful that I want to share with you guys. So again, try it at home if you want to. I know crow pose can be kind of scary because it's an arm balance, you're just on your hands. And so there is always the fear of kind of face planting, which I've done several times throughout my yoga practices. So if you are afraid of that, I do recommend maybe getting a blanket or a couple of pillows, something that you can face plant into that won't scare you. But remembering that you kind of take it in little steps. So if you feel a little bit afraid, then maybe take the first step, back off, try it for a couple of days, then maybe take the next step. And it's important for us to kind of process those steps instead of bypassing just to get the pose, right? It's not about the pose, it's about the process. It's about what you learn, it's about your reactions, all that kind of stuff. All right, so we're just gonna start with a couple of things I like to do to warm up before crow pose. I would recommend doing your own kind of little warm up, maybe do a couple of sun salutations, something like that to get your body warmed up, especially shoulders and hips. But we'll kind of do a little brief warm up. So we're just gonna start with cat-cow. I've got a couple of blocks here because I'll show you a cool little trick I learned a couple of years ago. But you don't necessarily need blocks. So we're going to start out in cat-cow. Let me scoot away. So you want wrists under shoulders and knees under hips. Inhale, drop to cow. Exhale, round out. And so when you're rounding out for your cat, really kind of commit this to your muscle memory because that's the shape that you make when you're coming into that crow pose. You round your back, you kind of hollow it out so that you can hover without putting all this weight onto your arms, right? So again, inhale to cow. Exhale, cat. Think about hollowing out. Inhale. Exhale. Good. And then the next little warm-up I kind of like to do is to take malasana. So I'm going to go ahead and press into a downward facing dog. And then from here, I'm going to step my feet to the outsides of my hands. I'm going to turn the toes out, the heels in, and with my exhale, come down into my little squat position. So I want both my feet to be nice and flat. Remember that if you have blocks, you can always take one underneath you and kind of give yourself a little stool to sit on. If you don't have blocks, remember a couple of dictionaries, a couple of Game of Thrones books will work just fine. Good, breathe here. I like to kind of wiggle around in my malasana. I like to wiggle around in every pose, honestly. All right, so this will get your hips warmed up because you'll want to imagine that when you're taking the position, you want to get your knees as close to your armpits as you can, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, but the closer your knees are to your elbows, I find the heavier you'll feel and the less control you'll have. All right, so then from here, we'll move into kind of a little toe squat position. So I'll bring my big toes together and come down into a little teeny tiny toe squat and just kind of just kind of bring the weight into my toes for a second. And then I like to come high up on the balls of the feet and kind of stretch out my toes. Good. And then from here, we'll go into a hip opener. So from here, I'm going to take my knees wide, and as my knees go wide, my heels are going to touch, right? So I'm getting a good foot ankle stretch, but I'm also stretching into the hips quite a bit more also. And then if you want to deepen this stretch, you can always walk your hands forward and then kind of push your hips back, right? So as I walk forward, I'm kind of pushing back into my feet, into my hips. I can even relax down onto forearms, relax my head and neck. Good. This is actually another good prep for baby crow, which sounds like it should be easier, but in my opinion is pretty challenging. maybe another week for baby crow. All right, and then kind of gently come out, wiggle around, maybe do a forward fold. Separate your feet a little bit, come up halfway, breathe in. Exhale, fold. I'm just gonna bend my knees, relax the head and neck, grab elbows, shake out a little bit. Good. And then we're gonna release, and you can gently come down, and we're gonna do basically crow pose, but on your back. And so I had a teacher who taught this to me a long time ago, and I thought it was like so genius. You get the sensation of the muscles that you're gonna use for the most part, but you're on your back, so you really can't fall over. So if you wanna go ahead and come onto your back, and you wanna remember that crow pose is obviously a good bit of balance and strength, but it's a lot of core work, which really confused me for the first couple of years. I didn't understand how much your core had to work. And then I finally clued into it, because if you're not using your core, you feel really heavy and you just kind of slither down your arms until you collapse, which I often also do. So trying it on your back, you'll just go ahead, make sure you can see me, come onto your back and just kind of pause here. I'll do a little windshield wiper to get my hips happy. And so crow pose, remember, you have your arms extended. They're a little bent when you're taking it, obviously the opposite way. But for now, we're gonna think about extending the arms. And so I wanna imagine that my arms, my wrists are in line with my shoulders. I'm pushing, my hands are flat, like I'm gonna tap the ceiling. And then I wanna pull my knees close to my armpits, as close as I can get them, round my back out, and bring my big toes together and my heels close to my glutes, right? So I'm gonna bring the arms up. I'm gonna pull the knees wide toward my armpits. I'm gonna crunch in, right? So my arms are straight, I'm crunching in, big toes together, heels toward my glutes. Breathing, exhale, try it again. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, release, breathe in, exhale, crunch in, good, release, exhale, crunch in. So try it out. It's actually quite a bit of core work, and you'll feel that. You feel a rounding in your back. That's what you want to feel in your crow. So no reason to continue talking. Let's try it out. So I'll show you crow, and I'll show you a couple of ways to prop it if you want to. Now, remember that just because I've done it before doesn't necessarily mean that every time it's gonna feel great. Yesterday I tried it, it felt so good. This morning I tried it and I was like, ugh. So it varies day to day, and that's the beauty of our practice, that just as we change every day, our practice changes every day. So I'm gonna start out in my little kind of toe squat position, right? So I've got my big toes together, I'm on kind of sitting back on my heels, and I'm gonna take the knees wide, right? And I'm gonna take my hands down underneath my shoulders, and my fingers are spread. I wanna think about gripping the floor with my hands. Now, if you have a mat at home, that's ideal. On a hardwood surface or just a tile or something. Carpet actually, I think, inhibits a lot of my movement, or that's what I tell myself. So if you've got hardwood floor, maybe go there. I have to kind of stay in here because my cat will just crawl all over me if I do this around her. So then from here, as I place my hands down, I want my elbows to bend eventually in this position. They're gonna bend back like little chaturanga arms, right? They're not gonna bend out. So think about that, little chaturanga arms. And then to come into the position, I find that a lot of people wanna come into it from here and just start to lean forward. That's not ideal for me. I like to press into my feet, lift my buns up. Right, so it's almost like I'm gonna straighten my legs, but I'm not quite going to. Then I'm gonna take my knees as close as I can get them toward my armpits. I can't get them way up here, right? I don't have that flexibility. They kind of end up on my triceps, and that's okay. So I'm gonna try to, oh, it's raining. I'm gonna try to get my knees close to my armpits, so I snuggle in, I look forward. I always wanna look forward, I never wanna look back. I place my armpits, place my knees close to my armpits, sorry. And I'm gonna start to lean forward, elbows bend, look forward. Maybe I pick one foot up, maybe I pick the other foot up, and I don't want my feet to dangle, I wanna lift them toward my glutes. So I'm hugging in, look forward, and then I come out. Now, if you're looking at that and you're like, what? I understand, I felt that too. So there's a couple of ways that you can test this out. I'm going to show you with one block first. So you're going to use the block as a little bird perch. And so you want to imagine that you are the embodiment of a crow, right? This is crow pose. So these are my little wings. These are my little bird feet, right? So my bird feet support my body. My wings clamp in to give me stability. So I'm going to take my wings slash my feet onto the little block, right? This will help lift my hips up. I can take my hands down, press down, lift up, hug in, lean forward. Maybe I just lift one foot up, put it down, lift the other foot up, put it down. What I don't want is to flatten out, right? I don't want my back to go flat. I want to round my back. That's the important part. So I'm going to press down, look forward, very important, round my back like I would for cat, and then maybe start to hover. And the block is always there, so I can use it. And we're breathing. Then once you feel pretty secure, you can try it without the block. There's another way that you can do it with 2 blocks if you've got them. If you don't have 2 blocks at home, you can skip the one underneath your feet and use the one underneath your forehead. But the one underneath your forehead doesn't really bear a whole lot of weight, so you could even use like a shoebox or something at home, just kind of a place to tap your forehead. So this is a good thing to do, especially if you're afraid that you're going to fall forward and just smack your face into the floor, which has happened to me several times. That's okay. It's scary, it hurts, yeah, it's embarrassing. But more than that, you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. So this block is going to be like my security blanket. So I'm going to put my feet down on the first block. I'm going to place my little hands down. And I want this block to be forward enough so that when I lean forward, I have space. If I put it right here, it's not going to be able to do anything for me. So I place my hands down. Press into my feet, lift my buns up, snuggle in, lean forward, and I can put my forehead down. That's a little too far forward. I can put my forehead down to support, and I can lift my feet up and then lift my head, right? That's a nice way to prop too. And then I'm panting, obviously, I'm getting tired. I'll show you one more. Once you feel really secure in your crow pose, you can start to practice with a block. If you have a cork block, this actually works a little bit better. I just have the foam one right now. So once you get comfortable with your crow, you can put your feet on the block, and I'll show you how to lift the block up with your feet. So you can take your hands down, press down, lift up, snuggle in, look forward, lean forward, hug those elbows in, round the back, start to hover your feet. Then you can practice picking the block up, right? And that will help you engage those muscles of hugging in. All right, guys. That's all I have for you today. I'm exhausted. So if you have questions, let me know. If you're watching the video and you're like, what? That's okay. I felt that way for a long time too. And one day it just kind of clicked. So to me, this pose is a good bit of strength, but it's more balanced than anything. And I think most of it is fear that you're gonna fall. But you know, if you're afraid that you're gonna fall, take a pillow or something, put it in front of your face. And if you fall, just smack right into that pillow, right? Try it out. Let me know how it goes. Namaste to all of you. I know this was short, but just a little tutorial. And Jessica will be with you guys tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for a delicious flow. All right, guys, have a great Thursday. Bye.